All right, well, thank you for joining us on this beautiful day, Sunday, today, March 8th. It's a wonderful day to celebrate today's International Women's Day. So, cheer for the women here. Well, before I can go any further and introduce anyone else, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sandra Yvette Santos. I am a community journalist here in the Monterey County and other areas as well. I'm a former anchor and producer for Telemundo 23 here locally. And well, thank you all for joining us. Before I continue, how's everyone doing? Everyone doing all right?
Yes.
Great? All right. It's nice and fresh here, right? Awesome. Well, I do want to introduce someone before we can begin with our program today. And if Dr. Marshall Fulbright can join us to direct a few words. Hello.
Impromptu. Thank you for being here. I guess I'm just honored to be in this space and to be here. You know, as I sit in the back, I just want to be supportive of what we're doing here today. I'm glad we're able to host here today and to have you here today. I always let folks know that I'm the product. You know, I have 4 sisters, and I'm the youngest of them. And my youngest sister was 8 years older than me, and this keeps going up from there. So I knew what it was like to be around really opinionated, strong women. Because when I was about 7, 8, they were like 15, 16, 20. Wow. So I saw how that was interacting with them and how they interacted with my mother, how they interacted with my grandmother. So I just was raised by really strong women in my life. Even my mentors were strong and took me under their wing. And to this day, I speak about my grandmother. I speak about Joe Stout, J-O, not J-O-E, Stout. I speak about Claudia, who was a mentor of mine. Deborah was my master teacher when I started teaching. You know, there's just a sense of strength that I'm very proud of. And so, no, that's. I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy that you're here. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to happen next.
Thank you.
For being here.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you so much. And just for our background, Dr. Fulbright, he is a superintendent at the Monterey Peninsula.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Also, we do have another person that we would like to have us join, Marie Boucher, if you can join us and share a few poetic words with us.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, greetings. Happy International Women's Day. I want to invite us to take a breath as we feel the gravity of this moment, as well as the gratitude for being gathered here together. My poem for you today is called The Great Remembering. We acknowledge we are gathered here on unceded Rumsen Ohlone land in the ancestral village of Achasta, where women wove stories into their baskets of willow and sedge, tended the land and children in this place, where their stories still live in grinding stones by the creek. The descendants of those women live among us, teaching languages of generosity and reciprocity, weaving resistance into fibers of our existence, every fiber braiding resilience, strength, persistence, and insistence on being seen. The weavers of 10,000 years of wisdom sit here at this very table. All our ancestors await our remembering of the stories coursing through our veins, wisdom which remains deep in our bones. Let your ancestors sing by your side. Let them play you like a drum till you remember the song of how we all belong to this one earth, regardless of origins of our birth. Let not shrouds of loved ones shroud us into greater divides. Our souls must collide when we hear of dead children, whether Iranian, Lebanese, or Palestinian. There is no just cause for children of any color to be caged, hungry, or sent to an early grave. It's time for us to remember ways of indigenous women across Turtle Island, how clan women choose the chiefs in Haudenosaunee longhouses, how warring tribes chose to come together, declare great law of peace, Guyaniskowa, forming the Confederacy of 6 nations, burying their weapons under great white pine of peace. You see, let us be clear, peace is a choice, a decision to embrace the sacred. Instead of false divisions, there are no holy wars, only scores of dead. Destruction is never the solution. It's long past the hour for all marginalized to regain their power, sit at shared tables, create cultures of care. Here and everywhere. Beyond every border perceived or imagined, we can no longer support fallacies of patriarchy, systems of oppression, false idolatry. Now is the time for naked, bold truth to be revealed, for all to join the call. Restore sanity and shared humanity. Abide by natural laws to respect all beings, including our oaks, lupines, sage, bees, all are more than human family. When we remember how to be in sacred relationship with all that is and each other, we will reweave the frayed edges of ourselves back into the tapestry of life and remember, we are all kin. It is long past the hour to shed stories we've carried for 500 or 2,000 years, the ones that say we're unworthy, less than, witches, bitches, and virgins. We do not relent to their perversions. Remember, our power lies in ley lines, through lines of the sacred of all time, not linear, but spirals, incised in stone, indelible in our hearts and bones. We are experiencing a deep awakening, moving through darkest times, weaving light through grieving, transmuting rage, tears, and fears, leading from the only way forward, the heart. Let this gathering be a prayer, a song, a remembrance of how we belong, a call to action, forging of alliances. As James Baldwin reminds, the children are always ours, every single one of them. Let us rise against the tide of haters and dividers, find truth in wisdom of 400 generations of grandmothers standing beside us, refusing to be silenced. They're calling us to remember. This is our hour to regain our power and sing Angelu's and Angela's refrain. And still we rise again. And you thought there weren't very many people here, but the room is full of your ancestors. Pinch them, just feel it.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Who felt that deep inside? I think we all did, right? And that's, like she mentioned, like Marie mentioned, I know this room doesn't seem full, but it is full with us because we all carry more energy that we can, share to the rest of the world. But thank you so much. One last round of applause for her. We'll continue with our program, and now for our keynote speaker, if we can have Supervisor Kate Daniels from District 5, Monterey County, join us here for a few words as well. Thank you.
Thank you all. It is such a privilege to be here. And Marie, who is our Poet Laureate for Monterey County this year, thank you so much for starting us off. We've been on this journey for a very long time together. And when your tears came, I felt them too. And there's so much work to be done, but it's also heartening to be here in this room at MPC. I've spoken right here at many International Women's Day events, and I want to thank the Commission on the Status of Women for reigniting that event and bringing it back to Monterey County, and we together will grow this event and bring it back every year, I hope, because this day, and I hope you'll hear this in my speech, is an important day of reflection. And I also don't understand how we can actually move forward without having this reflection, because we might not know where to go. So it's a very important day, and thank you for allowing us this time and this space to have the conversation we're having here today. And to Dr. Fulbright, thank you so much, and everybody at MPC for hosting this event today. This is a very special place. We are all so lucky to have Monterey Peninsula College in our community. So what did I do to get here today? I went online, and I know we like to tear down the oligarchy and the artificial intelligence and all the things that are out there, but I Googled something important. I said, and I wrote for many years as a journalist, but I didn't use my name as you know it now. I didn't go by Kate Daniels, I went by Catherine Daniels. And so I said in the search, what has Catherine Daniels said on various International Women's Days in Monterey County? And it was really interesting to see what came back. So my speech talks about a lot of things that I thought about and wrote about in the past. And I'll start by just saying that this space today is an opportunity for us to reflect on the International Women's Day theme that the Commission has drafted for us, that comes from the theme that the UN has provided, and that is empowering women and girls to be leaders in public life and achieve gender equality. Most of you know me only as a county supervisor, but this theme is one that I have worked on for many years, beginning in graduate school, where my thesis was Sexism in Language. Later, I founded the Women's International Perspective, an online publication where women were not simply the subjects of stories, but the authors of them. As journalists and reporters, we were the experts, the analysts, the public intellectuals, and the storytellers helping us make sense of the world. For several years, I also taught in the Gender and Women's Studies program right here at MPC. At that time, many of my students that were in my courses were learning for the very first time about gender roles and gender bias. Then, as my work and career unfolded, I eventually found myself here as one of 2 women on the Monterey County Board of Supervisors. I'm not sharing this story to simply talk about myself, but I share this background to make one distinct point. I have studied and experienced the theme of today's International Women's Day celebration for much of my adult life. While there are many accomplishments and achievements to celebrate, we still have a long way to go. In fact, today more than ever, I believe women and girls are experiencing a backlash in this country greater than any I have ever seen since entering into this field. And this is why we are here today. International Women's Day is not only a celebration of women's achievements, it's also a day of reflection on the deeper structures that shape who is in leadership, whose work is valued, and whose contributions are recognized. The work I did prior to serving as a county supervisor was always guided by one central question. What would the world look like if women were at the table on equal footing with men? And what would it look like if our perspectives and contributions were truly valued? If we just look at the city where we are sitting today, the city of Monterey, why has a woman never been mayor of this city? Why has a woman never represented the city of Monterey in the state senate? Why here on the Monterey Peninsula, since 1850 when we first became a state, have we never been represented by a woman in Congress? And the one I forgot in my list, but I remembered when we got here, in 1789, George Washington was elected President of the United States. Why has a woman never, since 1789, been elected to serve as President of the United States? But please, don't linger on that question for too long, because what I really want you to focus on today, here, is what is missing from the conversation when women are underrepresented in leadership. What decisions are being made when women are not at the table? What does this say about our system of values? And more importantly, what are we undervaluing in the absence of women? One need not look further than today's international headlines. Who are the key players in the U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict? The U.S. President, Donald Trump. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who is now deceased. Or Khamenei, sorry, who is now deceased. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Hopefully, you get my point. And besides the 40-year-old Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Reza is the youngest of the group at age 65. Who is in leadership? Who is at the table? And what kind of future are they creating? When I created the Women's International Perspective, I was trying to change the narrative that led us to accept that men are the leaders we should trust. I tried to do this through journalism because I believed the stories we hear shape what we believe is important. They shape how we understand leadership, power, success, and even what we believe counts as meaningful work. The abundance of male perspectives and the absence of female voices creates an incomplete narrative. As a result, the masculine narrative dominates. We live in a society that often rewards competition over cooperation, power over partnership, and profit over care. Ultimately, the work that I was doing proved unsustainable. It was impossible to raise enough money to support the nonprofit I ran while also paying our journalists for the stories that they wrote. But I learned so much from that work, and I carried those lessons into my service as a county supervisor. And yet, the work that remains is immense. Just this week, a friend attended a community services district meeting and overheard two members of the all-male board of directors say that someone needed to stand up to those two women on the board of supervisors. Of course, he was referring to me and Supervisor Wendy Root Askew. Like I said, the work is great. But what this comment actually gives me is the opportunity to reflect on what Supervisor Wendy Root Askew and I bring to the Board of Supervisors that might otherwise be lacking. When Wendy and I look out into our communities, we see parents raising children, We see teachers nurturing curiosity and potential. We see nurses and caregivers tending to the vulnerable. We see neighbors building communities and supporting one another. These forms of work are not secondary to society. They are foundational to it. Yet many of these roles remain invisible in our measures of success. They are poorly compensated, often unpaid, and rarely celebrated as leadership. International Women's Day, therefore, is not only about recognizing women's accomplishments. It's about expanding our understanding of women's leadership itself. Leadership is not only about commanding authority. It's also about listening. Leadership is not only about competition. It's also about collaboration. Leadership is not only about individual success. It's also about creating the conditions so everyone can thrive. These are qualities that are often described as feminine, but in truth, they are human qualities. And our world needs them now more than ever. If we are to build healthier societies, we must broaden our definition of what we value. We must recognize caregiving as essential work. We must support policies that value families and communities. And we must ensure that women's voices are present wherever decisions are made. And because we are here at the college today, we must never overlook the fact that when young people see women as thinkers, as leaders, and as creators, their sense of possibility expands. International Women's Day reminds us that this work belongs to all of us. I truly look forward to reflecting on this year's theme, empowering women and girls to be leaders in public life and achieve gender equality, with all of you here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. That was so inspirational, wasn't it? Who feels inspired tonight? Well, today. Great, I do. Kind of reminds me of how I got to become a journalist. It's quite a journey that I've taken so far. But thank you, and big thanks for the community for the support. Now we're actually going to invite a few of the panelists today. So can we have Dr. Marcia from MPC intern VP, she join us, please? And thank you. Next, Ana Gonzalez, Dean for the Hartnell College South County. Okay. We have Dr. Elizabeth Ramsey joining us today with CSUNB Associate Vice President. And finally, our moderator, Dr. Ana Garcia, will join us. Okay, Supervisor will join us.
I'm filling in.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna, and I am thrilled to be here with all these mavericks that I have around me. And what we have done is preparing 6 questions or so for them. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they are going to tell us. And then we'll open it for the audience in case you guys have questions for them as well. So, first question, and maybe we'll just go this way, if that's okay, just to keep it simple. What's a tipping point that changed your life's trajectory?
Okay. Thank you. So one of the things that I think about as far as the tipping point and change in my life is my trajectory to get to where I am today is the interim vice president of student services. I was one of the students that came to the university, did not do well, was academically disqualified. So I stepped away and decided to work full-time. And did that for a number of years until I found that the work that I was doing was not fulfilling and decided to come back to school. And I came back to school at night. I didn't tell anyone that I was coming back to school because I didn't want anyone to say, well, you failed before, you're going to fail again, why go back? And so I started at night with one class, didn't even, tell my sisters that, they know everything. I didn't tell them anything. And that first class was at community college up in Mount San Jacinto. I got an A in that class. And that was the change. And so I decided the next semester to take another class and got an A. And so I thought, all right, I think I can be a student again. So I transferred, and then difficulty in life hit. Finances hit. I was one of the students that we support now, our housing insecure, our food insecure students. I had roommates. At one point, I would volunteer on campus just because I knew that they had food left over. So, I could take it home. But I was able to really, really connect with people that were supportive. And as I was sharing earlier in the conversation with AAUW, was that, in my undergraduate, being an adult reentry, I did get involved and had so much support. Went to the women's leadership and shared a room, was in Washington, D.C., so that was a tipping point for me. To know that through struggle, you just, find the support, find the rhythm, and then you continue going. And so my work has been supporting students like I was supported. So I think that's I bring that up because it means a lot to me to share that story, because especially with our students, because I know so many of them may be in that same situation. And so, they can be successful and just find the support. We can't simply say hunker down, because that doesn't work for everyone. But you find the support to help lift you and keep you moving along. And so,
First, I just want to thank the Commission for the invitation, and Dr. Marcia Gable as well for having me here today. I think for me, I often felt like a late bloomer in my career. I did not get into my field, so I would work in the AVP for enrollment management, so admissions, financial aid, student services areas in higher education, and it wasn't until my early 30s when I took my first job as an admissions counselor, after having been in the classroom as a teacher. And so it took me a little while to realize that this was something that not only I was good at, but something I really loved, because I've grown to believe that access to high quality higher education is a human right. And so being able to work in the field that we do helps to provide that access to prospective students. So as I took my first job in admissions and eventually moved up professionally, I think there was always that sort of self-doubt that you hear. As I've gotten older, I've come to really understand that that's something that's more prevalent with women, or at least we show it more than men. I had a colleague, peer, friend, kind of early in this part of my career, who would often say, we have to fake it until we make it. And I thought of that a lot, and that was sort of my, just kind of, you do the power stance before you have to speak in front of a board or give a presentation. But over time, I've kind of realized that, again, women say that, and men don't say fake it till you make it. And I come to realize I don't want to fake it. What that really is just more about quieting that voice and that self-doubt that I have, that it's not, I'm not faking it, I know a lot and I can contribute a lot, and I want that seat at the table, as you were mentioning. And so, I think for me, just professionally, tipping point, and again, it was that sort of self-doubt. I had eventually become director at one institution, and an opportunity came up for a VP position, and I was excited and I knew I wanted it, but I also felt like there were things I didn't know how to do. I didn't know how to do budgets. That's one really relevant example. And my father was alive at the time, and he was sort of the parent I would go to for career advice. He kind of just, he would give it to me straight. And he just, you know, he dismissed it in a way, not in an uncaring way, but basically you'll figure it out. You know, you're smart. You'll find the resources and the people to help you to be successful. And just hearing that, you know, empathy, but also just that push. You've got this. You've got to, you know, you're good enough. And so I took the leap, and you know, kind of from there, I would say that's a big tipping point in my career, but really bringing together all of the lessons, and it's still happening for me. You know, there's a lot of those, the voices I still hear that I have to kind of quiet down and center myself, but you know, those are some words that I still think about.
So, because I'm here at this very special place, I'm gonna refer to one really big tipping point in my life, which was when I went away to college. I lived in this area, went away to college, and just bombed the first year. Like, it was just, I was 17 years old, and it was, for a number of reasons, just really overwhelming. And I left this area. I actually moved 3,000 miles away, and was in a very urban environment, and just the world almost felt like it came crashing down, because all of a sudden, unlike here, I felt like every day when I walked out the door, I was seeing the world as it existed, and it was very overwhelming. And so I came back home and went to Monterey Peninsula College, and 2 of the courses that I took here were the most impactful courses I've ever had in my entire life, that definitely set my life on a trajectory that was unexpected and unknown to me prior to that point. And one, there's many women out in the community that had the privilege of taking women in cross-cultural perspectives from Kate Miller, who taught this course here for many years. And that course was just a phenomenal course that, on the one hand, produced outrage when you learned about what women were experiencing around the world, but it also had this global theme that, you know, there was actually a book that we read called Sisterhood is Global. So it was also very inspiring. And then with Elliot Roberts, I took creative writing and learned that writing was my vehicle. Writing was what I needed to do, even if it's just in my journal with myself, and it's nothing that I share with the world. Through writing, I come to understand what it is I believe. And so it's a huge part of my process, coming to understand and organize my thoughts, and then being able to articulate them. And one of the issues that I had as a young person was I was not very clear. Lack of clarity was my greatest defect. Whether I was speaking, whether I was writing, it was reflected in the grades that I received that first year in college. And now it's something that I really value, and I really respect the ability to communicate clearly. And that all started right here at Monterey Peninsula College. So this is a special place that I cherish, and those 2 courses were definitely 2 that changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm so grateful for them.
As a faculty myself, I love that answer. Okay, so number 2, what is one of the hardest life challenges you faced?
I just shared the first question about the, you know, tipping point. You know, it's probably one of the biggest challenges. But probably the biggest challenge that I have faced in my lifetime is the loss of my mother. And so I'm the youngest of 5, and we had 4 girls and one boy. And so the boy is always tortured, has been, you know, forever. But one of the things with my mom is that she was the educator too, but she was the educator late in life because since I was the youngest, it was only until I was in high school that she decided to go back to school and to become a teacher. And throughout my life, you're gonna be a teacher. No, I'm not. I can't do it. At one point, it's crazy because I went to Catholic school, and I was gonna be a nun. And it's like, what in the world was I thinking at that time? But it was hard seeing my mom get older, seeing her, transition, seeing her fight. And I get emotional. And when she passed, that was, I think, the hardest thing for me, because I was at work, I was meeting with someone, it was, having a great day. And she was proud of the work that I was doing in student services. And as VP, she was in a senior facility, and that weekend I was gonna go pick her up. And just the hangout. And so that was the hardest thing. She was the rock in our family, especially for us 4 girls. We gave her hell, I know. But, she rolled with everything. And so much about who I am that is because of her. And even today, when I was talking to my sister, one of them earlier, we were on FaceTime because she lives in Southern California, and she said, "Oh, I love those earrings." I said, "These are mom's earrings." And, because when I wear my mom's jewelry, I feel so empowered. But that, I think, was the most challenging thing for me. There are so many other things, but I think both emotionally, lifetime, that's someone that I won't have back, physically. And so, and to hear about your mother's death while you're at work is also really unexpected. It was very unexpected. So that was very hard. But again, support, friends reaching out and remembering her and wearing her earrings, that's helpful.
Just wanted to share as well. So I'm wearing, and I could cry, my mom's earrings, my mom's watch. So I totally feel what you're saying there. And it's actually, I would say, just on, I'll mention as a personal, but it ties into professional, just largest challenge. So I was a single mom for many years. I'm remarried, and my husband is in the audience now, staring me down. And it was difficult because I was working, and I kind of mentioned some of my career trajectory, but I was also raising 2 girls and trying to model to them what leadership looks like from a woman's perspective, which was not always easy, and I can talk about that more later. But and I think at the time, I was also, not only was my career important to me, but I was the only breadwinner. So I was supporting my daughters fully financially and had them full time. And so when you're in that situation, there's a lot that you can't do for your kids, or a parent or a family, and for anybody. But there were after school things or activities that I couldn't get my girls to, and so they just didn't do it because I had to work. And so to me that was a challenging time, but it was also, I hope they're now in college, so I have a sophomore at Fullerton and a freshman at San Marcos and 3 wonderful stepchildren as well. But even though you miss out on a lot of things, so I could do 1 field trip a year for each girl. That was sort of, that I could take that day, right? Otherwise I had so much responsibility. But I hope that for them to see that now, when they're growing and they have more personal face time. Hopefully that was water. But I think that is, you're kind of modeling, right? That even though it wasn't what I wanted and I couldn't do a lot of parenting activities that I wanted to, I was there for them. We had family dinner every night. I was, picked them up, and we did a lot of wonderful things on the weekend. So I think just being able to model how you have to wear multiple hats. I think we also, I was doing some thinking about this before, and the word perfection comes up, and having to be everything to everyone for women, and being okay that, the dishes weren't done, or laundry had to wait, or, whatever it was, or maybe I had to miss a meeting and leave a little early. It's hard to say no sometimes, and I think one of that comes out of fear professionally, that if we don't say yes all the time, it'll impact our ability to advance. We don't want to say no and disappoint our children or our families. And that's about boundaries and really being intentional about what we need just to be able to be functioning, healthy, and happy humans as individuals is really critical. And, you know, just sort of towards as my mom passed, my mom will be 10 years very soon, and so at the time my girls were little, and it was scary because I'd already lost my brother and my dad, and so here, you know, there was the thought of, you know, the rock as well, as you mentioned it. So, but we persist, and we, you know, come out at, you know, and stay ahead, but we survive, and we model resilience and reflection. You know, we don't forget. I think about it all the time. It drives me, and it also, you know, impacts me obviously continually. But it's part of living, and I think as women, allowing ourselves the space to be human is important. Otherwise, we just will break. You know, and I knew I couldn't break. I had kids. I had, you know, responsibility. So, but also giving ourselves that grace to be able to. Whether it's journaling or, you know, whatever it is we do.
So I feel like there have been many life challenges that got me to this point, and as a result, I think it has allowed me to do the work that I do right now and stick with it, because I would never have stuck with it before. And what I mean by that is, this is probably one of the harder points in my life in terms of just my age. I've got aging parents. I've got children at home. I have a father with a pretty significant disability. My partner has a significant disability. And it is just a really difficult time as a mom, as a daughter, as a wife. Like, it's just a hard time. And on top of all that, I chose to be a county supervisor, to be an elected official. And what does that mean when you're an elected official? It means that there are people, no matter what, who just want to yell at you when they see you. They just want to get it all out, and you signed up for this, so you're here to listen, and they just want to get it out, and you're the recipient of that. And it means that online, in this period of time where we live, that there's this unimaginable amount or number of keyboard warriors, and you're often the topic of conversation that these folks are writing about. It means for me that like I shared in my speech, I sit on the County Board of Supervisors, and it's just with one other woman. And there is still a lot of ingrained gender bias on the Board of Supervisors and amongst the county staff. And so it means that the issues that I care about don't always get the same prioritization that the issues that some of my colleagues care about. So why do I share all that? I share all that to say that it's also so wonderful to be a woman who has experienced all of these challenges in life, to get to the point where she signs up to become a board of supervisors and she could care less what anybody thinks. And that is such an important place to be. And in order to do that, I've gotten myself completely off of social media. And it's wonderful. Like, I am no longer on Facebook, I am no longer on Twitter, I am no longer on Instagram. So whatever people are saying, I don't know about it. And that is better for me, because I can keep my focus on doing the work that I set out to do and achieving the goals that I set out to achieve. But it also means that added pressure, when people yell at me, I can think about, like, okay, whether or not I agree with anything this person is saying, what is their fear? What are they worried about? I try to listen. And then also, I mean, all of these years of standing up for myself, I can say, please stop, please don't yell at me, and let's have a conversation. And I'll listen to you, and then I hope you'll afford me the same respect and listen to me. And I can do these things that I never had the skills to do before. And do it with kindness, and do it with grace, and do it with all those, I think, feminine qualities that we bring to leadership. I can embody those, and I can execute those. And so, yeah, so there have been a lot of challenges, and this might be the hardest one, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm surviving it, and I'm doing well, and I think as a result, we're getting through the challenges that we have in Monterey County, and I think we're making progress. Whereas in past years and past times in my life, I would have just said, fuck it, and run. So.
Thank you for sharing that one. So our next question is actually kind of a segue to that. How are you different now than what you were 5 years ago? And we just kind of heard from you. But
Do you want someone else to go first, so you don't have to go first? I can expand on that since I was just talking about this, so I'll be really
why
quick.
not?
So what did that look like? You know, I had a friend just yesterday, because this is alive and well and it still happens, and she was telling me the story of just last week. She was in a really big deal meeting, right? Big deal meeting, trying to negotiate funding for a program that was super important, and she was at the table with two men. And they finished the conversation, and as she was walking to the car, the other gentleman was walking with her, and he grabbed her hand, and as she got to the door, he leaned in and tried to kiss her. She was asking for advice. My advice was really good, and it was really strong, and it was really clear, and it set a boundary, and we talked about where to go from there. 5 years ago, I don't know that I would have had that same advice, right? 5 years ago, you know, I might have still been stuck in the people-pleasing, you know, part of my life and part of my journey. Don't upset things too much. Just get yourself out of the situation, but don't upset the waters. Don't cause a scene. I feel like I cause a lot of scenes now, but I hope I'm doing it with grace and dignity. I really do mean that. Like I'm trying to be a good listener, but I'm very clear when people cross the line. And 5 years ago, I would not have been as clear.
I feel like I'm getting older, so even 5, I think, hopefully I've gotten better in 5, and I think about 10 or 15, 20 years ago or more. But I think for me, it's, you know, still getting better at being the leader that I want to be, not who I think I should be. And I say that as I was preparing for today and thinking about this, and my role models and my mentors, to be honest, my supervisors and bosses have been men, presidents and, you know, as I moved up, directors, vice presidents, presidents, and I've had some really incredible mentors in that capacity, and folks whose lessons and support I still carry with me. But at the same time, the way in which I learned to lead was modeled a little bit more after the people that were my mentors, if that makes sense. And so some of the comments you made earlier, like being more competitive versus collaborative, thinking that in order to be successful, needing to be assertive and I don't know if aggressive is the right word, right? But that was how you demonstrated your leadership and authority. And that's not necessarily who I am, but that's who I thought I had to be a good leader. And so I think some of those, as well-intentioned, and again, I'm thinking of some male leaders that are good people and I learned a lot from. It's just that gender dynamic that is different. And so interestingly, as I've been also then thinking about where I'm at today, recently a youngish woman who has actually worked for me twice. She was great and I poached her to work for me at another institution, but she's been moving herself up professionally and I've been really excited to watch her do so. And so we had a quick little exchange, and she was up for a job and asked if I would serve as a recommender. I said, of course. And she mentioned something that I had said to her probably like 10 or 15 years ago. And when you said this to me, I still think about it. And that's a really powerful, super cool thing to be told. And it's happened a few other times. And the interesting thing, as I reflected on it, is that all of those people were all women. So even though my role models and mentors were all men, I've had women, I don't even know if a male direct report, I'll say, has ever asked me advice, probably, maybe, but the ones that that come to me and talk about how impactful a conversation we had, or an encouragement I gave, or a letter of recommendation, how much that helped them just grow personally and also professionally. And that's just really meaningful for me, and it's something I reflect on, because again, it's sort of like how I have evolved as a leader, being, again, who I thought I should be versus who I want to be, and who I am that's true to core values. And that's another question coming up as well. So lots more work for me to do on this front, but that sort of attitude that you've been talking about, I can really relate to that, but also doing it in a collaborative, compassionate way. But you can get results still, right? You can still be effective, and sometimes even more so, because you have people who want to work with you and walk alongside you, versus people who do it because they're scared, or they feel like this is what they need to do. So
for me, how I'm different than I was 5 years ago. My professional career has been, in higher education, primarily at California community colleges. I've worked at the CSU. I have gone from being director, associate dean, dean, vice president, interim college president, and I love my work. Absolutely love my work. Being an administrator, being a faculty, I was a part-time faculty for a number of years as well, so I had that special hat on for a bit too. But there's nothing like the work that we do as educators. And so what's different about me now compared to 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I was chasing permanent president role, college president, because I love the work, I love making change, I love impacting change, I love impacting culture, and making institutions thrive. And that's such important work to do. What's different about me now is that I'm not necessarily chasing that so much anymore, because I've recognized the strength that I have in my capacity as Vice President of Student Services, the work that I've done over time. But what I love about what I'm doing now too is spending a lot more time, not only just in my role, supporting students, leading a major division at a college, but I've also committed myself to sharing my expertise, professional guidance, working on growing leaders. I also have, just recently went through a whole year of becoming a certified personal executive coach, and so my work is now, instead of chasing to be at the top, is chasing to help people, especially women who have been my only focus right now, lift in their positions. Because, so many examples have been shared about, women leaders in higher education. And, we're so mean to each other in education. And it's something that I say that's kind of funny, but it's so true. We really, unfortunately, work to bring people down. And as leaders in higher education, you have to have a certain, just gumption about yourself, have to understand who you are and the purpose and values that you stand on. Because whether you're going into a classroom, if you're going into a meeting room, you have to be able to understand who you are, represent who you represent, and impact a change. I've seen it far too many times, and we're focused on International Women's Day, but when women come to these meetings feeling that they can be aggressive and assertive and mean, because that's the male way of learning things. And you don't do that. You don't do that because what you're bringing, what you need to bring is your authentic self, your expertise, your passion, you bring that to the table. And there are ways that you can question. There are ways that you can make changes without, exhibiting what has always been taught to us is, the male dominant way of doing things. And so that's how I'm different now. It's like, you don't do that anymore. And I really want to help professionals get to that place in their career. I mean, my career's not over, but what I'm saying is that I love helping professionals get to the point where they are recognizing who they are as professionals in higher education, and to help them thrive and to help them be successful because they have it in themselves. They don't have to listen to what other people are doing or look at really bad role models to be successful.
Thank you for sharing that. Actually, I had horrible role models. So just not usually didn't ask, but one of the reasons I love my work, never work, so it's super fun to be here as a teacher is that I wanted to do like the opposite. I knew what I didn't want, and that was a driver. So we appreciate that. Okay, halfway there. Number 4, what's the biggest challenge you have right now?
I could go really macro. And I mean, just as an elected official, and I was thinking about what I think might be a question that's coming up, and I was writing some notes. But what's the biggest challenge that I have right now? The biggest challenge I have is the system that we have in place in this country and what we value, to go back to what I was talking about before. And when you think about all of the decisions that we see being made and the lack of inaction to challenge those decisions, it comes down to the fact that we value power, we value domination, and we don't value. There's an amazing woman that lives right here in Carmel, and she wrote The Chalice and the Blade, and her name is Rion Eisler, and she talks about a continuum that has power and domination on one end, and it has partnership on the other end. And we are so far into the domination side of that continuum. And you see it in terms of the decisions that were being made and by the administration that's in office right now. And you equally see it in the lack of action and the inaction by the party that's not in power. And so the biggest challenge we have is the consequences of that. And so in all of our jobs, whether it's in higher education, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in government, we are all living the consequences of folks in charge who don't value what we value. And so that's what has to shift. And I think for this International Women's Day, we can think about that shift by really not only helping women become tomorrow's leaders, but helping women and men embrace what I think is inherently feminine in all of us. So thinking about others, cooperating, being in communities, being forward-thinking, being caring, being all the things we're told not to value, being kind. Being kind. I mean, there's so much cruelty in the world, and I think that women and the feminine that's in every single person, male or female, is what we want to uplift and utilize to change what has become grossly distorted in this country. Thank you.
Actually, we were on the same wavelength, and I just want to build on that because I also think it's about the way that we not just challenge, but the language that we use and the language that we deem as acceptable today is so different than 5 or 10 years ago. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and it feels sometimes, because it's so public and it's so pervasive and it's so normalized to name call, especially derogatory, for lots of groups, but women, the way they've been described or put down by top leadership in this country. I don't want to use the word shocking anymore because it just feels like that, we're just even numb to that. But I think we all hold a responsibility, as you said, to challenge it, but to also for me, it's that core values again, right? That's not how we talk with people. That's not how we talk about people. That's not how we disagree, right? We don't have to agree on everything, but just fundamental respect for others, especially to their face, and especially in a public forum. Just basic decorum has been eroded to the point that, again, it's normalized this, and it's almost unleashed this permissible way of conducting ourselves. And I think what I worry about also is that I think with that is also an erosion of just basic critical thinking. If you're in a disagreement, or you have conflict, and you aren't able to develop a sort of a critical argument that contradicts the person, we don't have to all agree. I think we're losing the ability to do that and articulate that, and so we resort to the easiest thing, which is, name calling, demonizing, and those are not only counterproductive, but it's also, limiting our ability to, engage in critical, constructive dialogue as a community, within families, communities, society, throughout the world. So it is my drive, right, through my network and my circles, and what we tell our daughters, right, how do you, and the men too in our lives, actually, I think that's even more important conversation. And to be able to have those difficult conversations with people in our sphere who don't agree with us. It's really easy to have it when you're kind of preaching to the choir. Those are easy conversations, right? But how do we also center ourselves, embrace ourselves, and prepare ourselves for those conversations so that we can start, even in our kind of grassroots way, move the needle back to how we just fundamentally treat each other and how we approach differences with each other.
So for me, the biggest challenge right now is that, in what has been shared, there is so much going on right now. And I think about myself as, one person among many that are concerned about, the issues that are impacting the community. Whether the impact to our Black African American community, the onslaught of our undocumented community members and our neighbors, the fear that we have to address and try to hold people tight and educate. The mental health challenges that are pervasive, that are just getting worse and worse. The issues of homelessness. There's so much going on, and I'm challenged because there's so much, but I'm one person, and how do I, give or help or, come up with solutions when there's so much going on? We have conversations about it all the time. What can we do? I'll join this group, I'll go to this meeting, I'll go to that one. What about this one? I'll donate 20 here, I'll donate 20 here. But so that's so challenging for me, and I think many people, because there's so much going on, it's such an onslaught, that I feel like I can't focus on one thing 100%, but I have to focus on 100 different things because they're all challenges that impact our communities. That's really important to me. And so, Dr. Woolbright stepped away. And so I tell him, well, I'm going to get involved with this, and I'm going to get involved with that. And I have to read his face. Like, okay, you've taken on too much. But he's like, oh, I think you should do it. And so it's good to have that support, but I do feel overwhelmed with the amount of issues that are happening right now and needing to, contribute to alleviating some of these issues that are happening. So.
Could I just add something? I think you raise a really good point. I think I love the macro conversation, but I think you're raising then the impact that it has on the micro level, like on the ground, and I think just because we are educators, and, you know, it deserves an exclamation point that the stress and the frustration that we're feeling just as individuals and students on our campus are really impacted by it. And I love that we opened with your 2 stories about perseverance and completing your education and advancing in your education, and what it took for you to be able to have that. It's getting harder for our students. You know, at my university, and I know at MPC as well, we serve a high percentage of Pell eligible students. We serve students who are undocumented. We serve students who are first generation and low income, and so they are, you know, those obstacles that were always there about affordability and food insecurity and housing insecurity. Those that have not gotten better, in fact, now they're getting worse, and they're impacting even more of our students at our campus, which puts the right, remember, access to quality higher education is a human right, right? It's putting that human right more and more out of reach for our students. So it's difficult when, you know, I don't mean to speak for us, but I think we all feel individual impact from what's going on today, but also needing to show up and to identify tangible ways that we can help our students to, you know, be resilient during this time. Hopefully it's a moment in time, and things will change, but we don't know that, and so we have to show up every day and be there for our students and figure out which committee or which 20 bucks we give that day is gonna be able to best support our students. But I don't have a solution to it, but I just think it's a growing concern that can't be forgotten. I just wanted to express that as well.
Thank you. So I think we actually talked about this a little, but number 5 is this. How does your life reflect your core values? I'm just going to ask who wants to answer.
I think my life reflects the core value that I have, you know, first is family. You know, I wouldn't be here without my family. Everything. My life is about my family. I don't know if I could survive without them. And they couldn't survive without me, I know that, even though I'm the youngest. And the other one, core value is integrity. I always like to share that, you know, you will see Marcia Gable whether it's in this room, at Safeway, walking the dog on the beach, on a vacation, you in a meeting, hosting a meeting, leading a meeting, dealing with conflict, you will always see the same Marcia Gable. I really stand on my having a high level of integrity, which I think is really, really important, you know, just for me and to others that I engage in. And, you know, the last one is just the mutual respect that I have for others. It's really difficult for me when I see people that don't have a value of respecting others. And so those are the 3 core values that, you know, that's my foundation, and that's how I live my life.
I'm still thinking a little bit too. My first thought is just, I guess, pay it forward. And we've talked a lot about that, but I think that is about, you know, how I show up at work, and for my family, and to, you know, recognize any and all privilege I hold, and how do I use that to lift up others, whether it's folks that I work with, or colleagues, or peers, or, you know, family members. I just think that, you know, I'm at a place in my life where I've had struggles and challenges, and I've also had some good fortune and some good opportunities and some really important doors that opened for me. And so I think it's my responsibility to pay that forward and to, you know, provide opportunity for others so that they also, you know, that kind of next generation or others, in a lot of my research has to do with sort of organizational leadership and change management, and so much of the research suggests that sort of heterogeneous organizations are much more successful and effective than ones that are homogeneous. And what I mean by that is, and I think in your opening remarks you talked about having seats at the table, but you know, there's a you know, I was going to say war against the word diversity in school, but the research shows that diverse decision makers and leaders and you know, just people in the workforce make for stronger organizations and more effective organizations. And that's really important because and I don't want to take it back to that macro, but we're stepping back to that predominant archetype of what leadership looks like, and it's one particular group. And so any gains on diversifying that are being lost, but we know that that makes us a less effective, whether it be an organization or a country, you know, whatever it is. So just, you know, having that moment to think about, you know, I guess for me is sort of like what kind of an institution, you know, Cal State Monterey Bay is where I'm at, so what kind of institution are we, should we be, how can I influence that to make us continue being the best that we can be, even when there are more challenging environmental circumstances that make that more difficult.
How does your life reflect your core values?
Wonderful, okay. Well, that'll rein me in a little bit, because right away I started thinking sort of about the world today and what we're clearly valuing, and you've both touched on it. But it's this idea, you know, not about research and not about what equity and diversity actually bring to a table, to leadership, to a decision-making body, but this idea that it's a handout. And it's just so interesting to see where we've gone as a country, but also needing to recognize that that was just lying under the surface. It's just we allowed things that were already a belief system to permeate and become the gospel, for lack of a better word. And so when I think about my values, I feel very lucky that I'm in this position right now to be able to be of service in this way. And one of the reasons why I think I'm going to be able to make progress as a supervisor is because I don't have any desire to ever do this again. Like, I do not want to run for a different office or a higher office or have this be sort of a stepping stone for an ulterior purpose. And I think in leadership, and especially in politics, we see that so often, right? It's where can I get? What level can I get to? I mean, we have how many Democrats in the state of California who want to be governor of this state? Like, they actually want to be the governor of the state of California. And there's so many that we might actually end up with 2 Republicans at the top of the ticket. And then it's so many men who just want to be president. Like, I want to be president. Like, you want to be president? And so I feel like, you know, core values are to be of service, to do good, to be kind, to make progress. And I feel like I'm okay if this venue doesn't last long. Like, right? Like, the people of the district decide they don't like me and they throw me out, we'll figure out another way. Because the job that's at hand right now is to make the world, and in the seat that I sit in, District 5 and Monterey County, livable for people. And it's not livable right now. And the way in which we are moving, we're valuing here as a county and as a state the same things that we see being valued in Washington, D.C. And it's power and it's domination and it's getting more and more and more. We need more and more and more. And you have to ask yourself, when is it enough? And at what expense? At what expense is the great BC in the Silicon Valley, which is now the great BC in Washington, DC. At what point is it enough, and what is your objective? And your objective is just more and more and more. And so here in Monterey County, I think we have a tremendous group of 5, and I think 3 of them in particular are all on the same page for a lot of things. And I think if we can keep our focus on the things that I feel are my core values, you know, being of service, making a difference, taking the opportunity that you have at your fingertips and using it to build the community that we know is possible. Because when the needs of our community are met, the community is stronger, and as a result, the county's going to thrive. And so, you know, I don't know that my colleagues share my core values, but we all have this opportunity to be of service, and that's a pretty awesome place to be. And if we take advantage of it and we do the work, we'll make the difference.
Thank you very much. Okay, last one. What advice would you give girls and young ladies who have to face hostility or violence in the workforce?
Protect themselves, be vigilant, and know that, you know, I think the lesson we can give is the system, right? Talk about the system, talk about the reality of the world today. Rape and violence against women and girls is so prevalent. And even when you see things that are just microaggressions, they come from that bigger space and that value system and what we think is okay in this country. And so women and girls in the workplace, we need to support each other. And if you don't see the support when you turn to one of your female colleagues, look for another and find the support and the help that you need. And if you need to report anything, you have the Commission on the Status of Women, which is here to hear from you and their goal. And let's just think about how much we don't value this one freaking commission in County of Monterey. You hear about so many different commissions. How often do you hear about the Commission on the Status of Women? Probably one of the most undervalued commissions in the County of Monterey. You don't have a budget even, right? Nothing. And so, you know, speak up, say something. No, it's not your fault. It's part of a system. And there are people that, as long as and the folks that are in leadership in education, it's in government, it's our responsibility also to speak up and speak out and make sure people know they're not alone.
Gosh, that's a big one. I mean, I think just a little bit to echo, I know you know your rights, speak up. It can be hard though, right? And I think paired with that has got to be an ally. Oftentimes, I mean, any type of situation like that, it can be scary and intimidating, and there's a reason why most people don't report. If it was so easy, then this wouldn't be a problem, right? But, you know, I think that finding that sort of ally, if you will, and being able to, you know, kind of take back your power. It's just, I recognize again, that's easier said than it's done, but it's only through that will change happen, because otherwise it's, you know, it's something that's not visible, right? It's something that's hidden, and it's you can't really make change if there's not light shined on what it is that needs to be changed. So I think those are in your extreme situations. I did want to just speak a little bit to just the word hostility, or just I think that is still out there. I mean, sometimes it's so unbearable or so unsafe that there is little choice but to leave an organization or company or business or whatever it is. And unfortunately, that might just be, sometimes it's reflective of a culture. And sometimes you know, you have to have a conversation with yourself. Is this the kind of culture that I want to be a part of? But again, with that comes privilege, right? For some people, they need the job, and it's not easy to come by other kinds of work. So the situation of it can vary. But I think for in other situations where the culture in the workplace and is healthy and a place you want to be, to really, it's all the things we've talked about, but just know your power, really being able to think about who I want to be at the workplace or in my personal life instead of who I think I'm supposed to be or who the world will tell me I'm supposed to be. That takes work and time, and it's really hard. But even my own daughters, I'm like, sometimes it's just like putting your head down, not in a submissive way, but just do your work, do your best, show up. I have at times seen people who don't do their best, or they are create an unhealthy work environment, and a lot of times they do go away, and it creates an opportunity for change and new opportunities. So I think it's so hard because there's never an easy answer to it. And I think the help out there can be finding an ally, or it can be who you see as a mentor, who you feel is safe that you can go to and say, hey, this is happening, I don't know what to do. They may not know how to report or who to go to, or what their options are. So I think just at a fundamental base level, I think sometimes we just don't speak up, and so that we feel alone. I'm the only one that's going through this, or it must just be me, or it must be me. I had a lot of that, right, as my early years. And then you start having conversations, especially with women, and you're like, oh, I wasn't the only one. And so I think that creates some sense of agency and capability when you realize it's really not about me, it's about the systemic, the system with which I'm working. So I think knowing that you're not alone, finding that mentor, and taking that opportunity.
And so the advice that I would give girls or young ladies, the first one is kind of going back to the question that was asked earlier, is that you have to make sure that you stand on your foundation, your core principles, know who you are, know what you stand on. And I would also advise women, ladies, especially those that are growing and advancing, you gotta expect it. It's gonna happen. And it's gonna happen, I think it was mentioned here, male or female, it is gonna happen. And what hostility looks like could simply be, overt hostility, slamming on the table, or, pointing the finger, specifically talking down to someone, or it could be something that's so subtle. You're in a meeting, we've heard this 1,000 times, we're in a meeting. You bring up a great idea, and someone on the other side of the table brings up the same idea, and all of a sudden it's the greatest thing. That's hostility in the workplace. And so, young girls, ladies, women rising, you have to know how to respond to that. And it can be simply like, that is a great idea, I just said that. Or, that's what I just said. Or, great idea, I'm glad that we're thinking the same thing. So you have to be prepared to say that. So, just understanding that hostility is going to be very, very different in many situations. And also letting them know, and you both mentioned this, is that we don't have to take staying in a hostile or unpleasant, violent workplace or situation also. We have the opportunity as much as we can, because the important thing is that we're making connections with others. We have mentors, we have friends, we have colleagues that we can connect with, because for our own sanity and our own sense of self, we need to step out of that situation and get out of that space. As just an example of coaching a woman that's in a senior level position right now, and she is in an incredibly toxic, horrible, hostile work environment where she can't do anything right. And so from knowing her going into that role to where she is now, she has shrunk so much. And so my work with her on our calls is to try to build her up and recognize that you're better than being in this space that treats you so horrible. And so, she's making her plans, it's financial, which is understandable. But she understands who she is and she is trying to move on. So that would be my advice. Hostility, violence comes in so many different forms. Know who you are, know your foundation, be ready to respond, and don't feel bashful about responding. Even if you're someone that knows that you're going to experience it, even if you write a few things down and have that on the side of your paper that you can flip to, because you know it's going to come, so be ready for it. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much. We are so happy that we got to share a little bit of all of you with us today. I think we have a few minutes, and when I look at that side, they say yes. So anybody wants to ask our wonderful panel any questions?
My question is, what advice do you have, or not advice, I'm sorry, the value or the importance of mentorship from women, and also, like you said, paying it forward, and also having mentees?
I think having a mentor is incredibly important. I think it's equally important to be a mentee, because it's that learning relationship for both. When you're a mentor, you're learning so much about yourself through mentoring another individual, another woman, and vice versa. But we have to be careful of who we have as a mentor, because sometimes there are mentors that are not authentic, and that may be going through the motions, and there are also mentors that actually can negatively impact. So it's really important to, if you would like to have a mentoring relationship, is to sit down and have a conversation with an individual. The other thing is, having a mentor, their actions speak louder than words. And so even though it may be someone in a high position, they have, a lot of social, political capital, and that's someone that you might want to get connected with, watch them carefully before asking them to be a mentor. And the reason why, the same woman I just talked about in a hostile work environment is working for the same person that was her mentor. And the relationship shifted dramatically. And, no fault of hers, but I think she could have asked some more questions and looked at the behavior of the individual rather than that mentoring relationship. Because when it came to a work dynamic, it really shifted in a negative way. So look at the spoken and the unspoken when you're looking for good. But yeah, my phone has so many mentors in it, and we're going way back years, to a colleague that I just spoke with that is a true mentor since 1998. It's still on my phone. We still text. I asked her advice. Saw her a couple weeks ago when she was up in Monterey. So it's important to have those, but just,
I'll just add, I think that's such great advice. The other thing I was thinking about is that it's not always, doesn't always have to be a formal, established relationship. And what I mean by that is, again, like I think as women leaders, just leaders in general, to be mindful of whether it's one-on-ones with your direct reports or what you say in meetings. We have to be very mindful and intentional, because those are mentoring opportunities as well. I gave the example much earlier about the woman that worked for me a couple of times, and her saying, I remember you telling me this, and this really has helped me, etc. So I think I do this all the time. Sometimes we forget how much words matter. Not that I'm careless with my words, but more of a reminder that if we can take any opportunity to really be reflective and thinking about impactful ways of communicating, especially to young professionals, things stick with people. And so, good or bad, so again, really being mindful about how we, a little point, or, being mindful of our own gestures and our own words that we choose. But I also think that, many mentoring sort of opportunities exist every single day. And it's my responsibility, it's our responsibilities to be aware of that and to take advantage of those moments to really be able to coach and help bring along folks and to say things that may be able to help them, much like we've had the good benefit of the words and the wisdom and the encouragement that we've had from others in our life.
This question and then something that was said earlier by Marcia had me think about when I was teaching Introduction to Women's Studies here at MPC. We used to run scenarios. Instead of just, like I think Marcia had said, it will happen, right? It will happen, be ready, it will happen. And we used to run scenarios and practice, like how are you going to respond when this scenario happens? Or how are you going to respond? And we did role playing. And then many of those young people, well, young at the time, we've all grown up, that were students of mine, because I see them out in the world or because, we've connected in other ways in various settings, I'm still in touch with a lot. And there's a handful of women from that period that still do reach out. And I have the same need to have a mentor or have mentors in the form of people that I can reach out to and just like, did that just happen? I'm going to share this situation with you. Did that just happen? And even if I haven't practiced role played something in advance, after the fact, I can run it by someone and try to understand like what just happened and not have to figure it out all on my own. And it makes me think of in this country, in the second wave feminist movement, it is no wonder that there were so many women's groups, right? Because I think it was a period of time when women were realizing for the first time that all of these experiences they were having weren't just their own individual personal experiences. This was part of a system of inequity that was impacting women. And as a result, these women's groups were forming that women needed someone to talk to. And I think that's why mentoring is so important. It's so important to have people you can run your experiences by, get feedback, get advice, and then provide that same to someone else. Because it's a learning experience once again. It's reinforcement. It's learning from everybody's experiences so we're all better prepared when they happen to us.
Well, let me say how wonderful it has been to just hear your stories and share a little bit of your expertise to us. I am very inspired, I know the audiences as well. And I think I'm going to just maybe ask for a round of applause. Our wonderful.
That was wonderful. Thank you everyone. Thank you, doctors. Thank you, Anna. And thank you, Supervisor. Thank you everyone for being so attentive and getting all this information, taking some of this information out there as well, and applying it to our daily lives. Now I would like to introduce our chair for the Monterey County Commission of Status of Women. Can you join us, Alyssa Smith? Round of applause for her.
First, I want to say thank you to all of our panelists. I got flowers. There's a lot of flowers. Thank you. And obviously for Supervisor Kate Daniel. So thank you so much for being here and being authentic and being yourselves and helping us all feel like we're not alone. Because there's so many times in hearing you women and the things that you went through, I often thought I was going through those alone by myself. I didn't do well in college my first couple of years either, right? Like, thank you for being authentic with us, too. Also, Vanessa, flowers for you two. This woman is here on her day off. She was here before everyone else, setting up tables and stuff. This woman is wonderful. Thank you so much. You could have done without you. Am I forgetting someone with flowers? Anna, yes. I was like, wait, I have too many flowers too. Thank you so much for being our moderator and helping. Okay, that wasn't what I was supposed to be up here about. So, again, just thank you. I am the chair for the Monterey County Commission on the Status of Women. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I also want to thank our other commissioners. So we have Stacy L. Ziegler-Perkins, District 5. Susan Hathaway, District 2. We've got Jeannie Hori Garcia, District 4. Karen Araujo. Did I say her name right this time? Yes.
Where is she?
She's District 4, she might be outside. And then Alejandra Gonzalez, District 3. I think she's also outside at the table. So I say all of that because we have open seats. So if anyone in Monterey County is interested in joining the commission, we're welcome to have you. Okay, so what I'm also really up here for, so our role as the commission is to advise the supervisors on things that affect women. This could be affordable childcare, could be domestic violence, could be health, mental health, all of the things, right? And so as part of that, we have a survey where we collect the voice of the women in Monterey County so that we can accurately represent them to the Board of Supervisors and share with them the true needs that women face in Monterey County. And so if you have a few minutes, please scan the QR code, and it's literally 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 18 questions, maybe not even that many. We really value your input, and thank you so much for being here. Oh, and one more thing, sorry, I knew there was something else. We have a resource guide, so I'm really excited about this because honestly it took us like 2 years to get it done. But it was something we brought back. Can I just show you real quick? So this is something that the commission used to do, and it is a guide of all of the different resources in Monterey County for women, and it's broken up by what we call service areas, I guess, affordable and quality childcare, community services, education, equal pay, health, housing, sexual harassment, and other. There's also one other small ask to this bit. For any of you out there, there is a QR code in the beginning, so if you see a resource that's not in here or a resource that's maybe represented inaccurately, take a quick second, let us know so we can update it and keep this an active resource for the women in Monterey County. Thank you very much.
And thank you to you for doing all this. And we have, oh, thank you. I get one too. Thank you. It was really, I'm really grateful that I got the invitation to be here with you today. And I believe we've got one more for today, right? We're almost done. And to end, we have some performance by Shinsho Mugen Daipo. Can you join us? Oh, it's outside. Yes. Awesome. I thought it was here. Great. Then that'll be all then. Thank you so much for being here, for spending your Sunday, your Sunday here with us. And go ahead. Thank you so much for being wonderful women and sharing your experiences. Thank you.
Oh no, I guess.
International Women's Day.